But let's talk a little bit about this Gaza proposal. It's a 20-point plan. There's a board of peace, which includes, to much amusement in British circles, Tony Blair is on the board of peace. What do you make of it all? What does it feel like to you?
I think the proposal is basically an Israeli American proposal. Prime Minister Netanyahu came over here early and he had hours long meetings last Thursday and this past Sunday with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, who are obviously very close advisors to President Trump and who are both ardent Zionists. And the final deal that was worked out, the final plan that was released yesterday, the 20-point plan, was changed from previous plans in ways that worked to the Israelis' advantage. As an article in the Times of Israel says today, Israel got everything that it wanted in the deal. So it's really not an American proposal. It's an Israeli-American proposal. And of course, Hamas was not consulted at all in the process. They were simply presented with a fait accompli. And unsurprisingly, I think when you look at the deal, it's a deal that Hamas would be foolish to accept. It's a deal that Hamas would be foolish to accept. They lose on all the key issues. And let me just walk you through a couple of them. First of all, they have to give up all the hostages in the first 72 hours. And everybody recognizes that the hostages are their leverage. So they give up their leverage. With regard to what happens to Hamas, the agreement is that Hamas will be completely disarmed to include all the tunnels being destroyed. That would mean that Hamas and the Gazans would be left defenseless. Third, the Israelis are not required to leave all of Gaza. And one of the principal demands of Hamas has been that the Israelis completely pull out of Gaza. They would pull out in a phased withdrawal. And even in the end, they would be left inside of Gaza along the perimeter of that piece of real estate. So this is an ideal situation for the Israelis, and it's disastrous for the Palestinians. But then we get to the most important problem. First of all, there's no sense of self-determination in the agreement. We basically have said how Gaza will be governed in the future. It won't be governed for a long time by the Palestinians. And then when the Palestinians do take over, we have decided who will take over, the Palestinian Authority, that is, who we will educate in the meantime to be responsible governors of Gaza. And then finally, and maybe most importantly, what's the end game here? Are the Palestinians going to get a state of their own? No. What is, as is mentioned in the final point, the 20th point of the document, what is the political horizon here that Palestinians can look toward? And the answer is they don't know what the political horizon is, what the final outcome is here. And the 20th point says that the United States is going to help set up a dialogue between all the parties so they can figure out what the end game is. So this is just a proposal that I would think makes no sense for Hamas to accept.
Well, Netanyahu said we can do this the easy way or the hard way. And so from what you're saying, it sounds like you think that everybody knows that the easy way is a non sequitur. And so it is going to be the hard way. And what is the hard way?
Well, the hard way is to continue the offensive that's now taking place in Gaza City and to drive all the Palestinians into the southernmost part of Gaza and then hopefully expel them into Egypt. I mean, I think this is what the Israelis want to do. They're very, very clear on it in the Hebrew press, and a number of times people say this publicly in English, but that is the ultimate goal. And in effect, this is, continuing the genocide. And the question you have to ask yourself is whether you think the Israelis can achieve this outcome or not.
Mm.
There's all this talk about defeating Hamas, and there's this idea that Hamas has been defeated. I actually don't believe that. I followed the conflict in Gaza very carefully, and there are very few reports, Freddie, of major engagements between Hamas fighters and Israeli fighters. It's not like they're having big battles where the Israelis or the IDF is destroying Hamas. In fact, Hamas is hiding in the tunnels and hiding in other places, as you would expect. They're not going to get out in the open. So I don't believe that they have killed that many fighters on the Hamas side. And furthermore, there's a huge number of young males who they can easily recruit as they grow older into Hamas. So I think Hamas is alive and capable of continuing the fight. And the Israelis, for their part, are suffering enormously from this war. It's doing amazing damage to their reputation, to their position, even in the United States. And if you look at what's happening inside Israel, it's quite clear that the IDF is in real trouble. It's no accident that the chief of staff of the IDF, a man who was handpicked by Netanyahu, was adamantly opposed, and I mean adamantly opposed, to the offensive in Gaza City, because he understands how much trouble the IDF is in. So I think if they do it the hard way, which is likely, I don't think they're going to succeed. I think the Israelis would be in a much better position if Hamas accepted this deal. But I think Hamas will figure that out itself and therefore won't accept the deal.